Yeah. We get like, you know, what they change about
It's the highlight.
Also.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Harbor Commissioners for the town of La Pointe. It is Monday, August 4th, 4:30. I will now call the meeting to order. This evening, we have with us Mary Ross,
Present.
Susan Widmar,
Here.
Evan Erickson,
Here.
myself. Via Zoom, we have Glenn Carlson,
Here.
absent, Michael Collins and Jay Wiltz. Staff present, Katie Kisner and Lauren Berteau, several members of the public, and Robin and Cal from Madeline Island Ferry Line LLC. First up is public comment. And I will start this one, actually. We received a handwritten anonymous letter that I'm not going to read out loud right now, but it will be placed into public record. To summarize, it is a brief yet harsh criticism of Madeline Island Ferry Line LLC's ability to manage town assets. Evan, you had something?
Okay, I just want to say, I think that the Harbor Commission should require Medical to supply you with the on-call list for mainland captains that are staying out at that house. So in blue, we are ready to cover ambulance chips. And this would help to see how much will be renewed, maybe future planning. And if something would happen to the room, we know who is going in and out of. We have some responsibility to it. We should know who's in there, and who's not there. If we have to supply with that.
Okay. Lauren, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the policy of oversized and overweight freight. A letter that I received on 6/24, which stated, and it seems like this is just a basic letter that went to everyone, but that we would be getting billed at $135 per hour per crew member bringing this freight. And in which Robin informed me that for our UNFI order, we would be charged for 2 crew hours, meaning just for that food to get on that truck, it's $270 plus the weight of the freight, which now brings our deliveries up to $500 per delivery, which is absurd. Last year, we were getting charged $270 for 1 crew hour. I'm really failing to see how 2 hours are necessary for that truck to get a delivery on which it remains on a pallet and gets put into the truck and then gets dropped in front of the store. It's exorbitant and it needs to be reviewed. And that is not a sustainable way or the intention of getting that vehicle.
Thank you. John?
Just wondering how the newsletter is going. Seems like it's been a long time since we've had an update. And secondly, I guess my comment is about the refrigeration trucks. I would like to know at the end of September, I guess would be like the first quarter, how much those refrigeration trucks have come in for the Harbor Commission to see if they are what we paid, what the town basically paid for them.
Anyone else? Let's move on then to the minutes of the 7/24/25 meeting. I have one clarification under number 5. I think it should state in there that we did agree that homeschool students would receive the same summer ridership privileges as the school kids, but would be expected to pay the same rate as Bayfield school students during the school year. Pretty sure that's what we decided.
I think that's right.
Otherwise, there's no further discussion. I'll move that we place the minutes of the July 24th meeting on file as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And
Motion carries.
Zach, I just want to point, there was an error in prior minutes that we had already approved that I've mentioned to Lauren. And it was about the housing, and the reference in the minutes was to the effect that this place we were going to lease was on the mainland when, of course, it was on the island. So I think without objection, if we can ask Lauren to make that change in the minutes.
612, number, what was it, line number 7?
7. Mhm.
I'll move that we amend the minutes as noted.
I'll second that and ask for unanimous approval.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Katie's Chief Administrative Officer report.
Yeah, so I have the current balance of the Harbor Commission bank accounts. This was as of Friday, August 1st. The Miffle utility checking account was at $948,935.30. This does not reflect the payment back to the town for the $300,000 loan. We won't see that debited from that account until tomorrow. But they do have the check. July revenue, and this was as of Friday, was $1,203,702.14, which is about 93.5% of our budgeted income for the month.
Is that strictly ridership or is that the entire income?
That's the entire.
So we don't have parcel hauling. We don't, I mean, there are a lot of.
Yeah, so that, once again, that does not include parcel hauling. And there's probably at least 1 or 2 manual deposits that are not included in that. So we have been extremely behind, well, not Miffle's fault on being extremely behind with receiving our payments from UPS, but as of Friday, we did receive a check for March, April, and May UPS payments. So that should be reflected in the budget here soon.
Can I ask a question? Did you have, Robin, did you have to send them an Instagram? To get the payment?
I have to interrupt service, but they just went on a check.
I'm not sure why they switched to a check instead of the direct deposits that we were.
And then that budget percentage, that's based on the original budget that was passed, we never.
Correct, that is the 8% added to the 2024 ALER standards.
And didn't we agree not?
We are not making
Yeah.
any additional changes to that.
Got it.
I did include, since we finally received the May credit card expenses that were paid in June, I did include the reports for the month of June, including Miffle's monthly report, as well as the balance sheet, budget versus actuals, and profit versus loss. Not sure if anybody has any questions in particular about those.
The Bayfield heating project, that was considered a capital project.
Yes, I believe that was.
Was that ever approved by the Harbor Commission to be?
I'll have to look back at that spreadsheet that we have the dates and everything for.
And then on the Island Queen, it says, US Coast Guard ongoing analysis is needed. What is that analysis?
That would be a question for Cal if he's able to answer that.
I don't know where it would say, I guess, US Coast Guard analysis needed. Where we're at right now is we repaired it to the level that was approved by the Coast Guard. It is an approved repair. However, the architects are going to need some more time with the with the problem and to make sure that what we've done is ultimately an acceptable solution. There isn't a reason as to why it cracked. So it's kind of a tricky spot to be in because we've repaired it, but it wasn't thin steel. There wasn't a grounding. There wasn't any obvious problems, and it's never cracked like that in the lifetime of the vessel that I'm aware of, especially in fresh steel. So a potential stiffer, thicker plate may need to be added, but that's not something that could have been determined in time for it to get, put back into service, and it may not be required at all. I'm just stating simply that the architects have not given their final weigh in on it.
Okay.
What weighs more important, the architect or the US Coast Guard?
The Coast Guard does not make structural recommendations. So ultimately the Coast Guard can tell you that the repair that was made is an acceptable repair. They cannot tell you whether or not, that is a, that's a suitable solution to prevent it from happening again in the future. Typically, like if it were to open up again, they would then say, you need to present us with a plan to prevent this from happening again in the future, right? So they don't make those kind of recommendations. They can just approve or deny based off of common and known practices.
And I believe in the past, at a past prior meeting, you had stated that it potentially could have been stressed when it was dry docked.
Yes, that is what we believe at this point to be the most likely cause, is that it was stressed in dry dock. And that is what we have been working with on the architects, and that is the kind of ongoing stipulation. So that's what their, kind of recommendation was not to get too ahead of yourself and just start, throwing steel at it, because that's the first time it's been in that dry dock since it was built 60 years ago. It is not likely to return to that dry dock. And so creating a solution for that problem, might not be a worthwhile endeavor, but that's ultimately what we're just trying to confirm.
Go ahead.
A question for Cal. If that happened again, Coast Guard could well shut you down for something like things. I mean, in the middle of winter.
At the boat?
Yes. So if it did happen again, that's what I'm saying, is that, so if we repaired it to the proper repair procedures, they approved that. If we put it back in the water and it somehow opens up the exact same way a second time, again, likely they would let us patch it again if we could, but because the patch did hold just fine. However, their sentiment would probably change to, the approved repair needs to be something ultimately created by an architect with a solution that would stop this from happening again, not a simple crack hole repair. So that's why we're, looking into it now, is to try and be ahead of that, to have them say, we don't feel that it's necessary to make an adjustment to the hull, so that if anything were to happen, it's not me making that determination, it's an architect. And then maybe they do say, hey, based off of the stress levels that the seas, we should add a thicker plate here. Again, it wouldn't be a determination that I make. I'm not an engineer.
Are we expecting any bills from the architect of $5,000 or more that Katie should be aware of for entering into our cash flow analysis?
I'm having
on this.
So I had them start writing up, these bills and getting them itemized to, the specific projects. So I expect to have that shortly. I asked last week. So the person that does that was out.
Next, Katie Abbott did work with Bremer Bank. She basically went through each of our accounts and made sure that, because we were getting a pretty high monthly bank fee. And that was mainly for our utility account. So they did switch the type of account that is, so that should reduce those monthly fees that we receive for that.
Because the number of transactions or something? to
Yeah,
that
it's like,
effect?
I mean, it's like that fee was a compilation of like the number of deposits, like just everything.
And it's not just the number of deposits, the number of checks or
Yeah,
individual pieces in that deposit.
yeah,
That's
so
They're
it's
charging us for us giving them money.
is adding.
Well, you get so many like per account, and over that they charge you for every
Yes,
50 additional or something. like that.
with them to get that switch, so we should see a reduction in those. I also included, and I had sent this out to the harbor commissioners earlier, there was a letter from the Madeline Island Chamber of Commerce to the Harbor Commission. The only update I have for that is I did send the chamber, the 2024-2025 ridership numbers that I have so far. Looks like Miffle, so Miffle received an email from the Bayfield Harbor Commission, requesting what they do for any of the like cruise ship passenger boats that come in and out of the old harbor, the head tax, the $2 person head tax. According to Robin, this does not apply to Miffle and hasn't in the past, and so they have not done anything in the past just because Miffle is in interstate commerce. So and it even states that in the tariff. Yeah.
The tax for the.
Yeah, so Miffle's just not done anything about that in the past because it didn't apply to them. They did still receive the email from the Bayfield Harbor Commission. My question for the commissioners and Miffle had asked, would we like for them to ask Stephen Bears to write like a more formal letter to the Bayfield Harbor Commission stating why it doesn't apply to them?
I would be comfortable with that.
He says that he's dealt with this with it many times before.
I mean, is it worth having the past documentation of correspondence between Stephen Burrs and Bayfield Harbor Commission on this issue so we can see what's communicated in the past?
There's no.
I was just saying, they didn't have any correspondence about it. They just didn't.
I thought you said Stephen Burrs dealt with this.
Oh, he has, just not for Miffle, sorry. Clarify that.
With other.
Yeah,
So like, Robin, how long in the past has Miffle handled it? Just said, sorry, we're in interstate commerce, we're not gonna pay this.
Well, we made that statement to the town board here. It didn't apply to us. And so I have just, Stephen Burns told me to ignore those.
Okay, and so the Bayfield Harbor Commission has not pursued it further. They just keep sending the monthly
They
email.
keep sending the stuff, and I think we have told them that we are in interstate commerce because we go from one place to another. We haul the mail, we haul packages, we haul people from Minnesota. And, it's,
That's actually intrastate rather than interstate.
intra is within Wisconsin, inter is state to state.
And we're only crossing county lines within Wisconsin.
No, but we're hauling people.
But we haul people from all over the country.
Yeah.
So,
And
One, two, that's, we own the property that dock is on, correct? On top of
in
that.
Bayfield,
In
yes.
Bayfield.
But there's a little stretch of to Bayfield right away to get to it. Is that as far as I'm aware?
yeah, we pay every dime on this like that thing. They just,
Right.
we have a, I think like, it's not 25 years left, but we have, probably 20 years left of an arrangement with Bayfield City. And the property you purchased with the ferry line included the underwater parcels under that land. I mean, they don't like to acknowledge that. It's true.
And it seems from recollection, it seems that in the past you've limited ridership, like trips.
Right, it's emergency or
Weather.
weather, wind, or just. Yep, the lineage and the new harbor are tied up.
Do you keep track of the number of passengers or vehicles that utilize that Doc?
It's on the log sheets.
Okay.
But it wouldn't say the charter. We have to know the weather.
Yeah, except I think maybe we did a trip or two. There's not that many. It's,
Right.
it's the, do not want to read that kind of case law.
What's your recommendation then? Do we have Stephen Burr send him a letter or do we?
Yeah, we have Steve first send the letter. He'll get all the details.
Do we want to add that as an agenda item or do we have consensus to give?
Can we get a
Nicole,
price on how much it's gonna be from Steve to write this up? As long as it's not like
Or
5
can we
hours.
say that he spends X number of hours on this? I mean, I don't want him to spend 20 hours on this. I mean,
Right.
I would say probably spend less than 2 hours. Okay. But
As long as it's under 2 hours, I would be all right with it.
I just think of.
it's a good makeup.
Maybe I don't know that we can really make a motion. We can
No, we
come up
can't.
with a consensus to allow Stephen Burrs to commit up to draft the letter, not to exceed 3 hours time.
I'm fine with that.
Seems like a reasonable way to go forward. Do we have a consensus then? Glenn?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't you do that then, Robin?
Right, the last thing that was on my report were just the updates from Nicole regarding the inquiry about just the pilings or the logs that were on the Middle Road property. And the point ramp, sorry, I should have clarified that in my report, not the new ramp that was purchased for the point ramp.
Yeah, thank you for the update on that, Cal. I understand the necessity of a boneyard and that was kind of my inclination as what materials are for. It seems like there are some that could go away, but to go back to the chamber letter, we want to have our public outreach committee draft a response, or how do we need to?
And that would be the commission.
I'm not sure we need to respond to it. I mean, they're saying, please take this into account when you set your fares and schedules. And of course, we take those things into account.
I'll make a motion to put Chief Administrative Officer's report on file.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And carries. Harbor Assistance Program project updates.
So just confirmed with Yankee today that we should be starting to break ground Monday, the 11th. So next week, 1 week from now, we will start the project. Again, it is anticipated to be a 2-week project, but we're going to plan for 3 weeks because nothing goes quite perfectly. So that's the update as far as that. So we'll be starting Monday, the 11th, and hopefully wrapped up by the Friday, the 29th. To answer Evan's question about the cement curing time, which came up, I spoke with the engineers about that, the engineers at Cooper. And then, on the last project, by the time that everything was done and wrapped up, it wasn't many days. But what we're looking at right now is from the time that the cement is poured, it's likely going to be a week of cure time to 10 days, I think is at the most. They're working on right now. I asked them if there would be a cost increase to have faster curing cement, and they're working that out if that would indeed be a change order. As of today, I'm not aware of any other change orders. So we are, going into the project on, the estimated or the contracted cost as of right now. With Erica, I have reached out again. I haven't heard anything back regarding the payment. So I don't know if the town has seen anything. The last thing I was told was that, essentially what I shared at the last meeting, that, she didn't have the invoices on file. I re-forwarded the invoices, that she didn't have the payment method on file. That was resent back to her, and I confirmed that with her, that the town would like a check. She said she was going to be checking in with everybody last Monday. I followed up since Monday, and I haven't heard anything. So that's the reimbursement side of it. So I don't know if there's any questions outside of that as far as the project goes. The only other thing would be, as soon as we get, through kind of the bulk of this, or after we're done with it, that, we kind of shift gears and finish out the rest of the project, which would be the dredging and the piling, which would require this process again of submitting the information, putting it out to bid, getting in bids, evaluating them, accepting them, and, commencing the dredging and piling. And that would be the last and final component of the project. I intend to have the piling and dredging as one bid.
We have our permits from the DNR for piling and dredging.
Those permits would be applied for by the contractee.
But Cal, you did get permission to start from the DNR, right?
Yeah, on this particular project, yes.
Right.
So the dredging is a completely separate endeavor, which requires a separate set of permits. This one, however, I did forward the chain of emails that explains that we are able to start, and what the DNR weighed in with and what Cooper has weighed in with to Katie, and she should have that on available.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, and good luck. I hope everything goes smoothly.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Anything else for Katie?
Yeah, we're on,
Happy to answer it.
Oh, yes, we're on the Harbor Assistance Program updates. Let's move on then to discussion of housing lease for on-call emergency captains / deckhands.
I think Evan Senior's suggestion is a good one, to have
I agree, a log.
log submitted by Mifflin. Can we say by like the 10th of the next month or something, so we can get it in a timely fashion?
Would agree with that. We need to
We
know
know,
who's in and out of there, evaluate the value.
We know to date whether it's been used or by whom.
Cal, go ahead.
So I didn't hear what the comment was, the public comment was. So I'm a little lost as to, when you say it's a good idea, the speakers, I can't really hear much through it. So I'm kind of unable to comment on that.
I can elaborate. I guess we have a question from the board currently, or first. Has anyone stayed out there yet? Any crew?
As of right now, no crew has stayed out there, as a need has not been expressed by the ambulance coordinator for additional staff.
And then the public comment recommendation was that we keep a logbook or a log of any and all people who stay out there with the dates and.
Great. Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue.
now, why are you waiting to hear from the ambulance for additional support? Isn't it Mifflin's responsibility to have emergency crew available?
Karen, the coordinator.
Okay, Karen, the coordinator.
She's the one that arranges the schedule for on-call.
Okay, but Cal just said he was waiting to hear from the ambulance.
Ambulance coordinator, I think he.
Yeah, that's the Miffle position. And Karen is the ambulance.
But it has nothing to do with the Madeline Island?
No,
Sir,
no.
okay.
And then a couple of meetings ago, you mentioned this housing, you had a captain that was looking to stay over here and would be using that room.
Captain, so it depends on, I guess, exactly what you're referring to. In the initial conversations, I said that there was a captain that would be willing to stay over there for extended periods if needed and or requested, right? So they said when their partner is out of town, it doesn't make any difference to them if they were staying there or at their place of residence. And so how that would work would be, should a deficit be found in the on-call schedule where somebody goes on vacation, is unavailable, is sick, gets injured, that we have this room available, then to allow that person, we would go through our staff and say, we need somebody to fill, you know, this space, and can we get someone in there to do it? So yes, they're of course still willing if asked, but it wasn't something that they were, you know, wanting to do. It was something that they said, again, I was just using that as an example of, I've polled captains to try and get an assessment before I even recommended it, of how many people would be willing to stay out there if they were called upon, to which I had, let's see here, from memory, I know at least 3 said yes, with one of the requirements being able that it's a dog-friendly place because they'd have to bring their dog over with them. So, I mean, I know at least off the top of my head more than 3 captains right off the bat that are willing, if called upon, to stay over there. And as I've said, you know, the situation with the deckhand would be that this deckhand would then be ultimately relieving some people who are only on call right now, because we're asking them, you know, to fill spots. They don't. There's 2 people currently serving as deckhands right now that do not want to be on call, but are on call because we're in a shortage. This deckhand that I'm trying to get in there on the 25th of August would be covering for both of those people for the time that they're there, which I confirmed with Karen, the ambulance coordinator for us, that indeed would fill any gaps in coverage that is currently anticipated, and she said yes.
So then this deckhand would, how long would this deckhand be living in that house, in this house?
Under 2 months.
Okay, but then it takes it away from the need for an emergency mainland-based captain to have housing.
Correct, but they're filling in the need already. So that there's 2 deckhands that currently are only working because there is a shortage. This person going in there will be able to cover both of their shifts, so they will be filling that shortage and giving those deckhands a relief from being on call, to which they don't really necessarily want to be on call. So we are already, yes, relieving what we need to relieve. Should there be an event where we need even more than that, then yes, we would need more housing. But that would be regardless, as if we had the room or not. You know, we would need a captain and a deckhand. We would need 2 rooms. But as of right now, working with Karen, this deckhand would fill the immediate need and give those people a break.
My biggest concern is that this doesn't become long-term housing for a single employee unless there was an arrangement where they paid their share.
Yeah, they paid their share, exactly.
I totally agree. And I mean, I think what, you know, is not getting conveyed here is, one, this employee coming in is going to be covering multiple shifts, allowing multiple people who don't want to be doing it a break that have been covering all summer. So right off the bat, that's a massive bonus, because if we burn these people out, they're just going to say no, and they're going to walk away from those duties. The second is, and the reason that I brought it up in the first place, was this person does not have a housing opportunity in the region until October. So the fact that we were able to provide them short-term housing allowed them to come up here earlier in August when we are in a critical deckhand shortage overall. If we were to say no to them in this endeavor and I turn away a deckhand until October, as of right now, I wouldn't have the needed staff to cover the scheduled shifts, again, without putting myself and maintenance on the boat half of the week or more. So it's kind of a twofold thing. I mean, we're utilizing it in the, you know, the primary use of ambulance coverage, which this person has agreed to. You know, they said they would do every single day of the week. They would do 7 days a week. That again leads to burnout. Every time a captain has done more than 3 or 4 days, especially after 4 days, there's massive burnout from captains. So I don't want them doing more than 4 days, but they are willing to do that. But you know, it's also alleviating a shortage that we wouldn't be able to fill without being able to provide some form of short-term housing. That's why I brought it up, was because it was a massive gain when we need it the most.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Cal, this, potential deckhand has indicated an interest in, getting seat time and becoming a captain. So it's and has background in mechanical, things like that, so it's a win-win situation. But I think we need to.
Anything else there before we move on to the dockside lease agreement discussion?
For the old dockside lease agreement, I would just like to clarify from Robin's email, it was not included. So, the dockside folks did not pay, or they were not required to pay the property taxes themselves.
It's interesting that the taxes went down 23 to 24, because not how, that would have been when the reassessment occurred. And I don't know anyone whose taxes went down, except for dockside.
Mary?
Yep.
2/3 of the properties on the island saw their taxes go down from 2024 to 2025.
I wasn't one of them.
Sorry to hear that.
Either.
John's hunting shack,
Right, exactly.
Wait.
It's his fault.
way too valuable.
Do we have a final draft of the?
No, so basically I wanted to provide that it wasn't
Okay.
included in the previous lease and also what the 2024 taxes were. And then I'd tell you, like, I'm obviously happy to do the changes if you would like them added to the lease.
I think as long as the dates are changed, I'm happy with the arrangement that we made going into this.
2-year.
Yep.
period.
And then we'll add it to future agenda for review and approval. Anything else? Move on to Big Top Special Boats.
There was a special boat last night for Big Top,
Sunday night.
Last night.
sponsored by Woody.
Correct.
Yeah. Is there any other coming up?
I'm not sure why that's on.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I thought there was.
the discussion of the Bonnie Raitt concert, which is
Event.
September 19th.
Yeah,
which
which
is-
Lauren reached back out to that person and requested that if they could provide ridership numbers or any.
Or if they can come up with some sponsors that want to pay for the special run fee plus.
Guys. Yeah, but we haven't heard anything.
We do at least have some demonstration that there are individuals who will pony up
I'm sure it's because Woody was staying on the.
He stays on the boat.
Right, but his boat's in the marina here.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on then to approval of bills.
One issue I have is that there are two, $200+ receipts from Many Penny Bistro for food. The one I understand because it was the Friday of a holiday. The other one, I'm not quite sure why it's there. And then I'm not sure if there was anything else. And then there was an Acme Tool, bill. Wasn't quite sure what that was, but.
Did you ever get clarification of what that was, Robin?
I sent them to Cal, I didn't get that.
So I can, I mean, it'd be, I could get better, you know, if I have some of these things in advance, I can definitely get some, you know, some better explanations of it. But I do believe I know what you're talking about. The pizza one was for the 4th of July, and I believe the other one was for Juneteenth.
No.
We don't have any bills for July yet.
One was for, where's the date on this thing?
It's May 15th, which is the Thursday.
Yeah, May 15th, that was a Thursday, and then,
That one is
May
getting-
15th and then May 23rd.
That one was marked not to be paid by the Harbor Commission, where we will, if we were paid for that, we will be reimbursing the Harbor Commission for the May 15th one for the pier. That was a business meeting, but MIFL LLC will be paying for that one. The May 15th one, what was the other one?
They're both from Many Penny Bistro.
No, what he's talking about is not what we're talking about.
No.
Yeah, they're not talking about the 5150 for May 15th. They're talking about pizza from Many Penny Bistro.
So was that for the captain's meeting?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
It
again,
was on a Thursday.
If I believe that would be the captain's meeting then, yes. But again, without, I mean, I could correlate that with dates and I could, you know, show attendance records for those things if given in advance. But from memory, that would be the captain's meeting. And then Juneteenth, which I believe we did 1 week late.
I get treating the crew, but I mean, as a town employee and town department, anytime we've done a crew cookout, the crew buys our own food and we cook our own food for lunch. It's just starting to get expensive to all these meals.
I agree, it's been excessive. Once in a while is great, but it's been excessive.
I get holiday Fridays. The crew's working hard. It's busy. It's a nice little morale boost, but all these random meeting food purchases of $200+, it's not a good use of our funds, especially when we're not meeting our revenue numbers.
Go ahead, Cal, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree more. I think the amount of money that you're spending is less than, you know, for one, we have hopefully 2 captains meetings a year. That's 2 every year where we can get our crew together to sync up. One's a captain's meeting, one's an all crew meeting. I would say that that's a pretty low amount of a gathering, but that's what, you know, I started that several years ago and we've been aiming for 2 a year. Outside of that, we are only doing pizza for the few recognized holidays that we have. That cost is minuscule in the scheme of what we're doing, and it is a small appreciation that we're doing for our crew members who are working late hours on holidays instead of being off. So, I mean, to what you guys are seeing is excessive. We have 3 or 4 boats running. We have ticket booths staffed full of people. We have, you know, we're only providing it to the Friday night shift. It's not even the whole company. And so I think, again, the message that you would be sending by saying we're cutting out pizza for the crew working these holidays, a arguably $15 benefit per employee that is working on a Friday night, I think crosses a pretty hefty line for that crew.
When I said I didn't mind the Friday night, I understand that, the holiday.
And then
It's-
2 captains meetings a year, or crew meetings a year.
I'd like to move that we approve the bills.
I'll second.
For discussion purposes, I will add that we have $3,000 payment to Baker Tilly and $32,817.28 for May credit card expense reimbursements to Miffle for a grand total of $35,817.28. There's no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Future agenda items,
Let's see,
dockside lease.
at least Katie informed me this morning about the. She also reminded me that there's some payments in the budget for this coming. For town dock lease and dock and repairs.
The dock improved payment to the town.
So those will be on bills for. Meeting.
I don't think we need a special agenda item for the doc.
No, it's,
So,
I,
It's like a set.
okay.
yeah, it's just more so on there. I'm just letting you guys know that payment is.
Anybody else? Anything?
I keep the big top special vote just in case we hear back.
And then meeting date.
Be Thursday.
So. Next Thursday would be the 14th. Wanted to. You guys were trying to do twice a month. Thursday, the 21st.
Is there anything coming up that where we need to
What,
meet before the 21st?
what day does school start back?
September 2nd.
Okay. Just figured we'd probably want the contract signed before school started up.
That would be an interesting thought.
Considering it only took till what, March this year?
It's a lot.
I would say the 21st.
I would imagine that I'd have July expenses by the 21st.
21st at 9 a.m.
Sounds good. Public comment? Evan?
I'd like to be your talking about the housing thing, and apparently we understand you discussing putting in a deckhand for too much space. Now, where you will see this, that captain for too much space in the back, which is surely is definitely the captain, is the way I see it. You have 2 captains there. Karen and Bob and Cedric are basically 1 captain because they serve together. Squirt doesn't. If he has, so. Yeah, occupy the house with a deckhand straight. I don't think that's what that house was meant for. It should be available for captains. If a captain all of a sudden has a issue, so that tonnage, Squirt had stepped in that case. But if we had a captain there, that captain could cover, or somebody may cover, could call them, could they to go in. It was meant for captains to cut. So I would don't take a permanent decade.
Thanks, Evan. John, you're next.
First off, I think you guys said you're going to be using Cooper Engineering for the project on the Hayfield side.
We have
Already contracted with
I
them.
think they're the same people that did the project over here, for the dock extension and the field here. If that's the same company, I would watch their quality. Or was it the elephant? And then one more thing, Cal was mentioning that the captain worked 4 shifts a week and they're tired because they don't want to do EMT calls. Well, trying being an EMT for a long periods of time, working 7 days a week, sometimes 24 hours a day. Is still needing a ball, still getting on the ball. I'm no longer when I'm retired now, but it seems like it's kind of a slap in the face. I don't know how the power of the captain works up, but next captain, but
Go ahead, Paul.
Three things. Number one, thanks for having this meeting later in the afternoon instead of at night. Number two, thanks for keeping an eye on expenditures, even a $50 or $200 meal expense, pennies add up. You gotta, as a government entity, you gotta keep an eye on this stuff. This is a private sector. If you want a martini lunch and have it as a tax write-off, well, that's the private sector, it's not the public. And third, I was just curious as to who writes like harbor commission reports, paying its way in the Gazette. I was wondering if whoever wrote it, if it's this public outreach committee for the harbor commission, if you could put a title on that. If it's an individual, if it's all 7 of you, whatever, just for the future reference.
Thanks, Paul. Anyone else?
Yeah, you brought up watching expenditures, which I really should. And I don't know how this works, but I don't think there should be any expenditures where you go out and get lunch, you get paid for. There's no town where there's a lot of food, so I don't know if the town should not be paying lunches and dinners, things like that.
Just real quick, so I haven't been over a lot this summer, but considering the increased volume of traffic, I think the ferry line crew and staff have done a pretty darn good job overall. So let's not forget, with the increase in traffic this time of year, what they're dealing with.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Charlie. There's no more public comment. Let's move on to agenda item 14, review of Madeline Island Ferry Line Management Contract.
We go into closed session.
A second, Susan?
Yes.
I'm gonna work with the ferry line 200.
A roll call vote for this. Mary Ross?
Yes.
Susan?
Work for the